Yesterday, I posed a question to the Republicans for Rainwater group, which is it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a group of Republicans who are supporting Donald Rainwater in the governor's race for Indiana, as opposed to the Republican incumbent Eric Holcomb. And I asked the question if the members of the group were supporting Rainwater in retaliation to Holcomb and all the things he's done over the past 3 years, basically, to kind of prove himself not to be a constitutionalist or a conservative, or if they were actually considering the Libertarian Party as a viable option as opposed to the current duopoly. And I got a kind of a mixed bag. There is some sincere interest in the Libertarian Party from a significant number of the respondents in that group, but there's also some concern, and a lot of the concern, or just the outright refusal to have anything to do with libertarianism outside of Donald Rainwater, was kind of the National Libertarian Party messaging and some of the stuff that has come out of the Joe Jorgensen campaign, and just past failures and stuff like that. And I think I've talked about it before, but and a lot of libertarian podcasts that I listen to and follow have talked about it way too much, honestly. But there has been some questionable messaging that came out of the Jorgensen campaign. And so I kind of wanted to address some of that a little bit, sort of briefly. So a lot of the problem that we're currently seeing, some of the people who have issues with some of the campaign messaging on the national party level, is that it doesn't really focus on the issues that libertarians view as the most important and as the cornerstone types of issues that would get people actually involved and engaged. There was some BLM tweets and other stuff, and on that note, like, I'm very much an advocate of the idea and the wording itself that Black Lives Matter. But if you look into Black Lives Matter as an organization, it is founded on Marxism and everything about, like I was talking about, the cornerstone libertarian principles. All of the cornerstone Black Lives Matter organizational principles are awful stuff in terms of freedom and liberty and what libertarians want to see happen. And honestly, if you don't know anything about Black Lives Matter other than just that, those three words, you should really do some research into the organization itself and see where it gets its foundings and where it comes from, because that's some pretty seedy shit. But anyway, so some of the issues is the National Libertarian Party has had some messaging problems throughout the 2020 campaign cycle, and it wasn't that it was stuff that wasn't important, it was the way that it was addressed. Like, they tried to play it way too politician-y and try to cater or pander to people that honestly would never really be on board with libertarian principles or values anyway. And it rubbed people the wrong way. And so a lot of the people who would be more more open to libertarian ideas and concepts, when they see stuff like that, it really rubs them the wrong way and pushes them in the wrong direction. There's also a lot of concern about the abortion position and the excuse me, I'll fix this with some Lorenzotti coffee right quick. much better. All right. So the libertarian position and kind of the stance, generally speaking, now obviously the Libertarian Party it's extremely broad in the demographics that it pulls from. Like it goes from pretty far left to pretty far right, and everything in between. So there is a lot of infighting and disagreement amongst libertarians because it is such a broad and diverse group, which in my opinion is a good thing. Like you don't get that level of diversity of opinions and ideas from the Republicans or from the Democrats. Like if you don't toe the party line on for either of those sides, then you get run out. And the fact that the libertarians have such a broad spectrum of different ideas and personalities and concepts, I think that should be a big draw for people who don't fit into that extreme left or that extreme right. Like we have a place for everybody. But on the abortion topic specifically, like a lot of libertarians are pro-life in that abortion is taking a human life. It's a violation of the non-aggression principle. But we also are for limited, smaller government. And so that's where there seems to be a problem, because in being in favor of limited or smaller government, we do not believe that the government should enact laws or anything like that to tell people what they can and can't do. It also means we don't believe the government should have any involvement in sponsoring, funding, paying for anything to do with Planned Parenthood, abortion, any of that kind of stuff. So the government should not be supporting it, but there also shouldn't be allowed, the government also should not be allowed to make laws abolishing it. That doesn't mean that we are pro-choice. It means that we are anti-government having a say one way or the other and sponsoring or funding it in any way. That should be, it's the biggest, the fundamental primary cornerstone of libertarianism is personal rights and freedom and the choices that you make and being responsible for the consequences of those choices, be what they may. So if somebody's doing something that you don't like, if they're not hurting anyone, then it's none of your damn business. That's kind of the foundational idea behind the non-aggression principle. It's, you know, as long as basically it's a do what you want, just don't hurt from people, don't steal from people, you know, don't violate other people's rights and freedoms. And it's really as simple as that. And that's kind of what it gets down to, is it's the reason that it's that libertarians consider taxation to be theft, because it is coercion with the threat of violence, that you have to give the government money or they will send you to jail. And that's where the police come in. That is the violent enforcement wing of the government. And that's why, you know, the libertarians support the police. We do not support the government creating unconstitutional, ridiculous laws that tell us what we can and can't do in every aspect of our lives, especially stuff that's non-violent, not encroaching on other people's rights or freedoms. Like, there shouldn't be enforcement of ridiculous stuff like that. Those are the big things. Shoot, I hear the arguments that the Libertarian Party is not for the military. Donald Rainwater himself is retired Navy. The Lieutenant Governor, William Henry, I believe he's former Army. He did some tours overseas. Like, a lot of libertarians are ex-military. And another big, like, libertarian sticking point is that we need to remove the United States military presence from the rest of the world. Like, we don't need to be fighting these endless wars all over the country or all over the world that really have nothing to do with us. Like, we should not be serving as the world's police. We should not be dumping trillions of dollars into the military-industrial complex every year to basically piss off people that we have no business having any interactions with anyway. Which is an interesting thing. This is just for you, Sean. The government, or Trump, has been trying to reduce troop levels all over the world and has been getting severe pushback from the war hawks because it is a military-industrial complex. Like, it is a cash cow, and they do not want to see that dry up. They don't want they want to fight against anybody that wants to pull back troops because that thing just pumps out money, and that's a problem. Like, that is a huge problem. We shouldn't have a military force that polices the entire world. Let's see. We're trying to hit one other thing real quick. The open borders thing. That's the other big stick in the craw for most of the Republicans that I talk to. And it's not, and I'm almost positive I've talked about this before, it's not open borders. That is not in any way what libertarianism pushes for. It's not like wide open, free-for-all, everybody comes and goes. We want to have good free trade and free travel. But the rules for staying, for citizenship, all of that would be much stricter. It would be along the lines of, there are actually a lot of the, this is a great example. A lot of the Norwegian countries that Bernie Bros and all of those like to point to as the fine examples of democratic socialism, they have extremely harsh regulations on becoming a citizen. Like, if you want to move there to be a citizen, you have got to have a job. You have to prove that you can take care of yourself. You don't get to just come and mooch off the state. You have to prove that you are going to be a contributing member of society. And that's what libertarians want. We don't want just free, open borders where anybody can come and go. Like, if you're coming here and you're coming to stay, you got to prove that you're going to provide something of value and that you're going to be able to take care of yourself. You don't get to just come and become a leech on the system. And so the problem the Republicans have is they see we want to open borders, and they just think, oh God, you just want to let everybody in. A lot of the opposition to libertarianism, I think, really boils down to people don't do their homework. You hear one little thing that rubs you the wrong way, and you immediately throw everything else out the window. That's throwing the baby out with the bathwater, you know? In the information age, the highest crime should be to be uninformed. There are all kinds of resources out there that you can learn everything you need to know. And if you have questions about things, ask people. Ask people like me. I'm a big proponent of the Mises Caucus. It is the true, like, I believe it's the Rothbardian, Ron Paul wing, like the libertarian wing of the Libertarian Party. And I'm a contributing member to the Mises Caucus. I'm working on trying to become a state organizer here in Indiana for the caucus. I feel very passionately and very strongly about it, and I think if people took the time to look into it, they would find that they really align themselves more with libertarianism than what Republicans or Democrats have become in this day and age. So, get out there and do some research. I'm going to include a link to the Mises Caucus Facebook page and their website on this video. Gosh, there's so much stuff that you can get information on. Just go find it. If you don't know where to find it, ask me. I'll help you find it. Hopefully people will do some research. Hopefully some people actually watch this and start thinking about maybe breaking the duopoly for real, like it is time. If ever there was a time, this is it. Because the response to Trump from the left and the right is going to be, they're both going to recede more into themselves, and it's going to become more statism, and it's going to push even further right and even further left. Like, this is not going to, nobody's coming back to the middle. So you've got to come to the middle and find us. And we're here waiting for you. And we got all the answers to all your questions. You just got to ask. You've got to break that cycle of being stuck in, I have to vote for the lesser of the two evils, and quit voting for fucking evil.